4, 3, 2, 1.
Now, customers are the backbone of any and all businesses. If you want to get more customers, we've got to seduce you all.
You've got to progress. If you want to attract bigger people in your life, then you've got to become a bigger person. You've got to become better at your skill sets. You've got to immerse yourself into personal development. You've got to find a mentor. You've got to find one or two people that have the results that you want.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Untold Upline Secrets / the interviews. Today, I've got a good friend of mine. This is one of those conversations that I've been waiting to have for quite a while. So I've got to set this up. I've got to set this up right. You know, me and this gentleman, we go back 15 plus years meeting in the network marketing arena, became really, really good friends over that time. We worked together in certain businesses here recently. He's doing so many things that we're gonna share about, but we've never grown apart from a relationship, from a friendship perspective. You know, he's someone that travels the world, one of the best networkers that I know. And when I talk about one of the best networkers, I'm talking about someone that can go into a room and meet the right people, understands network marketing, has built phenomenal network marketing businesses, but from a networking perspective, meeting the right people, putting the right people together, creating the right connections that have opened his Rolodex up and his life up to be on stages with some of the best, traveling around the world, being on cruises all over the world, speaking on these cruises all over the world, being an MC to some of the biggest events that a lot of you know of. And he's just a good all-around dude, and I'm glad to have him. So let me bring on my man, Mr. Casey Eberhart. What's up, Case? How you doing, brother?
Dude, I am so awesome. It ought to be a sin.
Yes, it is. You know what?
In 12 or 13 states, in 12 or 13 states, it probably is, by the way.
Probably is. You're right. Well, listen, bro, you know, we've been playing a little tag with each other. You've been traveling all over the place, and you've got some major projects. So I've been waiting to get this interview. I'm like, I am not releasing this series without my man, Casey, because he brings so much value, and you and I just ping pong off of each other anytime we're on a phone call or Zoom or whatever. But I start this off the same way I start off all these interviews, Casey. You know, there's going to be some people that are going to know who you are, and there's going to be some people that have no idea who Casey Eberhart is. So we got to start all the way back, and I've got to ask the infamous question: who is Casey Eberhart for the people in the nosebleed seats that don't know?
Awesome. Well, Ced, first off, congratulations on the success of the book and this entire project. I think it is so valuable to really help craft and change how we look at business going forward. And so I just want to commend you and your entire team for being thought leaders and out on the forefront of, I think, what's really needed, because I certainly believe, just as a business guy, that it is us entrepreneurs, us thought leaders, and people that are out trying new things and exploring and pushing the envelope that is going to be the good that changes the world more than governments, more than anybody else. So I just commend you on everything that you've brought to the table. I think this is absolutely awesome. So you guys, my story is, I'll make a very long 40-year career in business pretty short. I grew up in Seattle, up in the Northwest, helped sell an amusement park when I was 23, moved to Los Angeles, worked in the film business, produced 22 movies, ended up being an Oscar award-winning line producer for a movie. Had equipment rental companies an equipment rental company that I sold, and I bought a business on the side. And once I bought that first business, it set me on a trajectory of buying, selling, building, consulting, and advising companies. I don't really know anything else. I don't understand the W-2 job. Not that I don't understand it. I understand why we need them and its leverage. But I have not had one since I left that amusement park back in 1995. Now, along the way, I've collected projects, and I've done a whole bunch of things, including network marketing businesses, YouTube channels, stock and options trading, crypto. I have a very wide array of experiences, but it all really comes down to relationships and building networks of people. And I truly believe, just at its core, business is really about the network of people that you create and that you can help advance whatever their goal is. So I know that's a somewhat vague, but this story is much more about you guys that are watching than it is any of the sort of the accolades or trophies or plaques that we win. Nobody wants to hear that crap.
Hey man, when you rock though, bro. When you rock. You gotta take it for what it is. I'm gonna dig some of this stuff out of you anyway. So
I think this is really interesting that you say that. I mean, I think when we get to a place in our careers where the accolades mean something to us, but that we don't have to flash them to somebody else to have somebody else think better of ourselves, that's when we cross over from being kind of amateur to professional, in my opinion. And by the way, you guys, listen, I am not a doctor, an attorney, a financial advisor. I'll take a page out of AA, take what you like from this and leave the rest. At the end of the day, these are just my opinions. I am nothing more than a dude sitting here in LA.
All right, so let's back up here with that dude that's sitting here yelling. You haven't had a real job since 1995. I remember a conversation that you were telling me about, when you were super young, when you started saving silver coins. Like I want to go all the way back there, man.
Oh, you're going.
We got a ways to go, brother. There's some crazy networking tips that you have, but I'm not going to allow you to gloss over some of these stories that I've already know that I think other people need to know. So how old were you? Because you and I are crazy avid gold and silver investors. So let's talk about, the silver game and how that kind of led into some of your entrepreneurial endeavors as well, because that opened up the door to an entrepreneurial endeavor.
Yeah. Said when I was a kid, my grandfather taught me the art of being an entrepreneur. And he really, without laying it out this way, really provided the blueprint to have multiple streams of income. And I should say, said, bring me back to this for 1 second. I do think it's worth at least giving a little bit of my philosophy, just having worked with thousands of business owners at this point. I have this theory. Okay. And I'm gonna go against a lot of coaches, and I'm gonna go against a lot of people right now in what I'm gonna say, but I believe it from my heart. So take what you like, leave the rest. I believe that all of us business owners and entrepreneurs fall somewhere on a spectrum. On one end of the spectrum, on the extreme end of one spectrum, is the idea of focus. Do one thing until it's complete. Focus all your energy, time, and money on one thing. Become the greatest thing in the world. Gary Keller wrote the book, The One Thing. And it is like you operate at your prime when you are focused in on one thing. I think on the other end of the spectrum are the people that need at their core to have multiple projects in order to fill a self-fulfillment. And that goes against and is quite in contrast to people that are the focus folks, right? Now, I happen to be a guy that needs a lot of projects to feel fulfilled. And so some coach or some consultant or some network marketing CEO or someone telling me that I got to put everything into one thing, I don't buy it for myself. But I think everybody's on a spectrum. So understand from where I come from in my own head and in my own journey, I don't operate with one thing. The model doesn't work for me. And I sold a company for my first company I ever exited and I sold for $1 million. I then bought another business for that $1 million. And a year and a half later, I had lost $1.5 million. And you know what I did during that year and a half? Focused on one thing. The model for me didn't work, right? So there are people that if they're going to make, I'm going to just pick a number, $10,000 a month or $20,000 a month, they want all $20,000 to come from one source as a result of one type of action. There are on the flip end of the spring, there are people that want $20,000 and they're okay with 20,000 $1 checks. Okay. For me, whatever gives you the most joy, you have to know where you fall on that spectrum. So there are going to be people that want to focus on 1 or 2 things, 4 or 5 things. They might focus on 10 or 12 things. My suggestion is to find somebody that supports wherever you are on that journey. For me, the minute I hire a coach, a consultant, or someone gets on a stage and says, you got to do this one thing, they have a dog in the fight. They make money on only your actions. So just be aware of eyes going wide open. Okay, so now I've got that my philosophy thing kind of out, and we can pick that apart if you want, said. But So here's the thing. When I was a kid, when I was really young, for whatever reason, I got fascinated by two things. I got fascinated by baseball cards, and I got three things, actually: baseball cards, comic books, and silver coins. I can't tell you why. I don't play sports. I don't even know how to spell baseball. I don't read comic books. The closest thing I am to a comic book fan now is I love Big Bang Theory. And silver is, I didn't understand anything except that I could go down to Fred Meyer and at the time spend $10 and get a silver maple silver coin or an ounce of silver, and I could hold it and it looked cool and it was flashy and I could throw it in a shoebox. So when I was a kid, I would take my allowance and I would buy a thing of baseball cards, a comic book, and then every 2 times I get an allowance, I'd go buy a silver coin and I'd just drop it in a safe. And then I got sort of addicted to this idea that if I could collect those things, that at some point they would be of value, right? And so when I was in junior high, I, like you said, sold candy out of my locker. And there's a really funny story that I talk about in the book we did together, actually, where I was selling candy out of a locker, and the principal called me down. It was basically like, listen, if I find one more Tootsie Roll wrapper on the floor, you're staying after school and sweeping the whole floor of the school. And I was like, okay, so let me make sure I understand this. This is why it's always key when you hear somebody and you want to make sure you clarify, repeat back to them exactly what they said and make sure that the communication is very clear. So what I heard was, if there's wrappers on the floor, I have to sweep the floor. My customers threw wrappers on the floor. I was not going to change my customers' behavior. Right. Now, what he did not say was you cannot sell candy. What he said was, if you sell candy and there are wrappers on the floor, you are going to sweep the whole school. Well, I calculated in my head that I could get through one side of The Cure, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, or the Go-Go's Beauty and the Beat on my Walkman cassette player in the time it would take me to sweep the school. It would take me about an hour to sweep the school. And I looked at what I was making a day, and I was like, I'm making profit somewhere between 50 and 75 bucks a day selling candy out of my locker. What I heard was, I'm about to make 75 bucks an hour, get to listen to the Go-Go's or the Cure on my Walkman, and I'm going to sweep the school every day, which, by the way, incidentally, would not allow me to have to go out for some sport, which I didn't have any interest in doing anyway. So to me, this was like a triple win. So I went out that day, stood on the cafeteria table, and I was like, hey, everybody, I want you to throw your wrappers on the floor today. Buy 2, get 1 free, chuck your wrapper on the floor. And literally said, I took every penny from that endeavor and bought silver coins with it. I bought silver bars. I bought silver maples. I bought when I was really fancy was when I started buying American Eagles, right? And I could get about one of those a day, maybe one every day and a half. I didn't know why. It was total instinct, but I knew that when I was reading newspapers and there was a book, gosh, I should have grabbed. Oh, there was a book called, I actually have it here, by Charles Givens, called Financial Self-Defense. It was a book literally like from back in the 80s. And it was like, it was that version of entrepreneurial book for me. I just was like, this is the best thing ever. Why is everybody not selling candy? Like, what are you dodos doing? You're like going out for choir and you're, wait a minute, let me get this straight. You're putting on some pads and running a ball around some grass and trying to kick a ball. Like, there is money to be made. And you guys are yammering with helmets on, like bashing each other. Like, I just didn't get it. Right?
I love it.
And that's really kind of the start of entrepreneurialism for me. Was like, it is, it's so funny said, I have right in front of me, I have it on my wall. I think everybody should create a sort of there's two things. I think everybody should create an underwriting document for themselves on how they evaluate deals and opportunities, much like a mortgage underwriter underwrites a deal. Black and white, yes, no. At the end, you score. It's either a yes or a no. There maybe helps you make decisions. But I have my sort of 10 money commandments in front of me. And the one that I've lived with for years and years and years. And it's so funny. I don't know how you bring this out of me. I don't normally talk about this stuff, but my number one money commandment goes like this. we make money so we can buy income. I want to think about that for a second. We make money so we can buy income. And so that's evolved. Back in the early days, it was we make money to buy assets. Right. And so for me, silver, gold, trading cards, comic books, I still have somewhere in storage a stamp collection that's probably worth $500,000. I got a comic book collection it's crazy. I got a baseball card collection that rivals some of the biggest baseball card collections in the world that I just don't know how to sell. So it's just collecting. It's just going up in value, but it's kind of evolved to now I buy assets that earn income.
Nice. I love it. First of all, you got to be careful some of the things that you say, because, I've interviewed Brian Carruthers, and Brian Carruthers is an avid baseball card collector. So be careful, because you tell him what you got, and that dude will be at your house, like backing the truck up, like he doesn't play.
And you know what? So said, this is a really important thing. You're saying a really important distinction. You understood in my voice that I kind of threw it away because I don't have an emotional attachment to those baseball cards anymore. If Brian wants to come over to my house, dude, give him my address because I'm ready to release those, right? But to somebody else, that asset is something that they care about, they're passionate about, they probably understand it way better than I do. They're in the trenches, they understand the game. So that is that's just a great lesson, is that you can be an expert in trading cards, comic books, silver coins, stock, options. I run trading bots and stocks and options and futures and all of that stuff. A lot of people don't understand it. NFTs and crypto, people are like, what are you talking about? I just think it's important for all of us to understand some of the things that we invest in.
No, you should definitely understand what you invest in. I'm with you 110%. So let's unpack a couple of things that you said here. First of all, I love your philosophy. You know me. I'm like the biggest advocate and fan of multiple streams of income. Like we can't just do one thing.
And said, I have to give you huge credit. I really want, and I hope everybody on here that knows you or that is kind of getting to know you or getting to know your philosophy for the first time through this experience. Here's the thing, said, I've been with you when we have been sort of attempted to be corralled and attempted to be placed under handcuffs in what we can and can't do based on somebody else thinking that they have a dog in our fight. And you are a true rule breaker in the sense that you have taught thousands of people that it's okay to pay your own electric bill with income that you generate how you want.
No, for sure. And some owners don't like that. But we're not,
well, I get paid by them. Are you kidding me? I get hired to consult them, and I have these conversations, and it's why either I don't last very long in their consulting ring, or you've got to be able to craft and create the new way that entrepreneurs want to work in the field.
And I think right now, pretty soon it's not going to be too much of an option. I was talking to this with Lisa Grossman. I was talking to this with Todd Falcone. I was talking to this with two
of my best friends. Love them. Todd is
Tyler Lambert as well. We feel like pretty soon there's a low key rumble. There's a low key underground rumble going on of networkers in the networking world that understand their value. That understand that, hey, if something happens, you can't tell me I can't do something on social media. That's my TikTok. That's my Facebook account. That's my Instagram. That's my YouTube. Like, you're putting me in these golden handcuffs, and it's gonna come to a point. And I literally think, and I forgot who I was telling this to, but I said I think we're between 2 to 5 years away. And I know there's a little bit of a gap, but time goes by really, really fast. I think you're being very conservative in your 2 year. I think it's happening. I think it's happening today, and I don't mean to interrupt. I just don't want to tell everybody. It already.
Yeah, started. I mean, here's the thing. I'll give you an example. Said and I want to let you finish, but I want to give you an example. My brother owns a brick and mortar prosthetics company. They make prosthetic legs. Okay, their number one client is the VA. He's they are artists as far as I'm concerned. They are amazing. he is fighting for labor. Okay, he can't hire fast enough, and his view of why people are not applying to work with him for when we get into our family discussions, I think he's way off because he thinks he's competing with other jobs. And what I think he's competing with are the kids that can go out and crank out TikTok videos, build an audience, get paid $3,000 a month by a couple of brands, and they're making $6,000 a month, and they're on the beach, they're hanging out, they're having a good time, they're living life, they're having the experience. Some CEO come in there and tell them, oh, you can't say this or you can't do that. They're just like, bye, next. That's where I think that's where we are, is that people are recognizing that their audience and their attention that they garner is the value play, where it used to be these owners had the upper hand in terms of trying to teach and train and hold these people in. And now the field has completely flipped. And if you don't have a way to treat people amazing and make them feel welcome and give them appreciation and bring them and have them in the fold voluntarily, you're done. You're toast. You can't compete anymore.
No, that pendulum is swinging so hard. And you're absolutely right, man. I mean, they say about 2026, over 50+% of the whole entire workforce are going to be entrepreneurs. So it's going to be like close to 60%. So if you think that, if I think it was like 53, 54%, 53, this by 2026, this is 2 years, 53%. Now somebody's going to say, what if they shut down TikTok? Well, listen, my opinion, and I spoke this on Facebook, but then I deleted it because I figured that Facebook, after a while, I saw that Facebook was dumbing down the post anyway. And I'm like, see, this is why people are on TikTok, because they say what they want to say. And you dumb it all down or censor it or whatever. My opinion is that it's going to pass. It's not about the account. Some people are going to, oh, they got access to your stuff. Zuckerberg got access to everything already. You're making that big of a deal? Like, all these companies have access to it already anyway. This is about, you guys are getting way too much knowledge. You're getting way too much knowledge on your For You page. You're becoming lazy because now you don't want to do anything. You can become a content creator, travel the world, do videos all over the place, make $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a month. And if you think that if you shut this down, this is going to stop, no. Another company is going to pop up. It's just going to be in America now. That's all. I was just reading a little while ago that they did it in India in 2020. So yep. China and India, they were beefing, and India shut down all of TikTok. Boom. No. So people freaked out for a little while. We fast forward 4 years later. They said Google, what did they say? They said Google Shorts. I mean, YouTube Shorts are contributing a couple of billion a year to their economy. That people just went to YouTube Shorts, or they're just doing it on Instagram now. You know, and a couple other companies popped up, but they couldn't beat Google and Facebook. You know, and Facebook obviously owns Instagram. But I say all that to say that the entrepreneurial landscape is just changing. Now, the other thing that you, when you talked about, you know, silver coins, I think that what a lot of people don't get, and I want people to really, really get something that you said, like you started this a long time ago, Now, obviously, silver didn't run up in value like Bitcoin did. However, when you were doing something when you were 15, 16 years old, you know, and now you're like 73, you know,
I've got so many network marketing products on my face, in my brain.
You live in LA, you got all the stuff. So you've been doing this for so long. I call it a forced savings account. That's how I train people on it. I say, stop thinking about it like it's going to appreciate. It's a forced savings account, because that's $10 that you would have spent somewhere else. That's $20 that you would spend somewhere else. Now it's in a silver coin. It's in a safe. It's not easily liquidatable. You can liquidate it, but it's not like you're going to the bank saying, okay, silver is 25 an ounce right now, give me $25. No, you're gonna have to find a coin dealer. So you're in a forced savings account that is actually freaking sexy, because people have no idea the accumulation time and what it does.
So said, let me. So I have this conversation all the time with newer investors, and a lot of them are content creators and influencers and people who got some social media plays. So I'm going to kind of use the silver thing, but I'm going to use a different example to illustrate, I think, what you're trying to say. And it goes along with the TikTok ban and the Instagram and the snaps and all of this. Gang, we rent space on those platforms. We do not own the platform. So if you don't like their rules, go create your own platform. But you play on their platform, you play by their rules, okay? So here's the thing. If you're going to go cut a video and you're going to go make a video and you're going to do some piece of content and you're going to talk about a video, right now, what happens is the first thing we do is we throw it up on Facebook, we throw it up on Instagram, we throw it up on Reels, we throw it up on TikTok, we throw it up on Snap, and then we are addicted to the immediacy of the dopamine hit that we receive when somebody clicks like, comments, or share. Like, we're just like, I mean, I watch it. I have clients that sit there and like, they're watching minute by minute. I'm like, you put the video up 5 minutes ago. Can you just like let it marinate a minute, right? Okay, now that same piece of content, same exact video, same piece of content, if you were to take it and you were to put it up on YouTube, it's boring AF. You put it up on YouTube, you optimize that sucker brilliantly, and in 5 minutes, it has no views. And in an hour, it has no views. And in 6 hours, it has 1 or 2 views. At the end of the day, when it's all said and done 20 years from now, the video on YouTube gains value over time because of the Google algorithm, the way that mechanism is played. That asset, that silver coin, that video starts off with no dopamine hit.
Right.
Down the track, 5, 7, 10, 15 years, it's still cranking off views. The video that you put up on TikTok that gets 50,000 views in the next 13 seconds has a half-life of about 2 days, which means that a week from now, 2 weeks from now, certainly a month from now, that video on that platform, almost useless. True. That's the difference between silver coin and Dogecoin or Bitcoin. So the value as an investor is to have a balanced portfolio. Yeah, go do some crazy crap. Go throw your videos up on those platforms that can get you dopamine hits like that. Go create a Bitcoin account and make some big. But the long-term foundation of something that is going to be purchased today or done today that has an accumulative effect down the road, YouTube and silver. It's literally how I equate investments. It's you got to have both, because TikTok can go away tomorrow. And if you don't believe me, go log into your Friendster account. Go log into your MySpace account. You don't think social media is changing. So we have this thing where the technology is always rolling. Silver ain't. All these social media video tools and platforms, they're changing. YouTube ain't. So that's kind of how I play the explanation of why I think people need to have some version of silver, gold.
I love that analogy. And you know the funny thing I just thought about, those programs don't even get the juice that they get without silver, because silver is the highest conductor of electricity. It's inside of every single phone and computer on planet Earth. So it's like, without silver, you can't even see TikTok. You can't even see Facebook.
When I kind of amped up the percentage of my income that I invest in silver, really came down to when I understood that silver is used in every chip that is powering AI software. And so if you're scared of AI and you don't know how to spell it yet, that's okay. But here's the thing. You didn't know how to spell a microwave, but you're still using it every single day today. Yep. If you didn't know how to spell the internet, you're still using it today. You're literally using it right this second. I believe at my core that AI 4, 5, 6 years from now will be such an integral part of our lives that it will be more integrated into our daily lives than the microwave and the internet are today. So if you think this out and you go, okay, there's only pretty much a finite number of ounces of silver on the face of the planet. And every chip that powers AI requires silver. And AI isn't even where, it was like Bitcoin within its first 3 days of it being launched. It kind of stands to reason that those folks that are hoarding and collecting it now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, I mean,
Well,
I don't know if I'd be promoting where you live.
Yeah, well, don't forget solar panels. We've got to add in solar panels too, and where solar is that, you don't have solar panels without it. But man, we could be on that topic all day long. I love the analogy that you used of TikTok and YouTube, and
I take our clients, when I start working with a client and I get them to the idea that they're going to build their business using video, it's always the same conversation. Okay, well, I'm going to put it on Facebook, I'm going to put it on TikTok, and then I'll put it on YouTube. And my number one goal as a consultant or as a coach or whatever you want to label it is to have somebody refocus the priority and the secondary market. Most people are putting their primary market on social media that has a half-life of a week, and a secondary is long-term like YouTube. If I can switch that mindset and you build the video and you build the content for YouTube first, and the throwaway or the secondary market is Facebook, the long-term play, the 3 moves out, is dramatically different.
You know what? Perfect. Oh man, I knew this interview was. I knew it was going to be a goodie. Like it's so funny, right? So I'm doing a team training the other day, and I tell everybody, I said, okay, hey guys, this is what I think that's going to happen. So if I were you, make sure that you get every video that you've ever put on TikTok, and make sure you download it. Like, make sure you download it, because if something happens, you're going to be upset that you've had 100 videos, 200 videos, 500 videos of content that you're not going to remember how to redo it the perfect way that it hit on an algorithm. Secondly, you've got to repurpose the content. You have to repurpose the content. So if it's going to be on TikTok, it needs to be on Instagram Shorts, Facebook Shorts, and YouTube Shorts too. And when you keep talking about YouTube, if Google owns YouTube, and we think about the 4, 5, 6 years later of the SEO, if TikTok does go away, nobody's going to, that SEO is gone. YouTube ain't going nowhere. Google isn't going anywhere. We and you and I have old videos, man. We've got old videos from 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Like, we date ourselves in this game, that we're still getting leads from way back in the day, and people still finding old videos. And it's not like they are. I had a guy tag me the other day, was like, saying, this is an old class that I had. I said, bro, you're killing me. And he was like, what do you mean? I said, bro, every time you guys do this, I get depressed because you show me videos with hair and I don't have it anymore. So like, I get depressed, but these are all YouTube videos, man. And people fail to realize the value of what you're saying, man. I think it's
and so let me take it a half step further. Let me really blow this out of the water. So first off, I have a video right now that I did in 2012. So that's 12 years ago. Right now, it still gets between 10 and 15 views a day. Doesn't sound like a lot. Do the math on what that's produced from 12 years ago. You find me a single TikTok video that's going to do that. But here is the difference. And this is the component that a lot of people will throw their arms up and go, yeah, but now it's too complicated. You are trying to, let's just think about this for a second. If you put a video up on TikTok or Facebook, what is the actual number of clicks that it is getting to take somebody somewhere? Very low, because you're taking them off platform.
Right.
However, if you have a lead capture form, or you are building an email list, which, by the way, in my estimation, is the number one asset that we can actually own the audience, own the attention. But now, what do people do when they're watching YouTube videos? I don't know about you, Ced. I watch YouTube all day long. I barely watch more than 2 videos before I've clicked on some damn link and I'm off on somebody else's page. I'm in their email. I'm on their newsletter. Now they're emailing me stuff. I'm buying stuff through email, the number one conversion mechanism on the planet still to this day. And so all these people that are putting all this content up on TikTok, I'm like, what? My brain short circuit, because you go, oh, but I got 37 trillion views on TikTok. Awesome. Why are you still living at your mama's house? Because I can tell you, if you had 37, if you had all those videos up on YouTube and you were driving them to a landing page and building an audience, or driving them onto your own email list, I can sure tell you what. You said you know this stat better than I do. You're way better at this than I am, but I've heard this stat from some of the best email marketers on the planet, Ryan Dice and Roland Frazier and Perry and those guys, that if your email list should equate, if you are average, about $1 per month per subscriber. So when somebody says to me, I want to make $10,000 per month, I'm like, do you know how many friggin' number of people you got to have watch a TikTok video to click on something to go buy your widget in the TikTok shop? Versus you build an email list of 10,000 people. How do you do that? Constantly put out great content where people are actually watching it and consuming it and clicking and buying stuff, which is YouTube. It is not even in the, it's not even in the state the ballpark is built of different. It's mind-boggling to me, the absolute resistance to putting content on YouTube, when the perception is, and I'll use my air quotes here, that it's easier to put it on TikTok with nothing more than a dopamine hit, that your thing went viral because, okay, it went viral. How many people added to your email list? Well, I got 1 million views. Great. How many people are on your email list? Well, 3. Awesome. What if that video was on YouTube and then got picked up by SEO on Google, right? Got like said, I'm going to use an example because this is my network. All my network marketers, hear me out. Here's the deal. Your company makes a replicated page for you right now that is designed to do anything but generate leads and sell stuff.
Yep.
Those pages are not designed by salespeople or marketers. They are designed by some I'm not going to go down this road. They're amazing designers that are there to serve the company. Okay. So here's the deal. You guys are out doing videos and you're talking about your company names all over online. So you know what happens? Sed and I hear that. We go, oh, I don't like that guy, but I like what he's kind of talking about. So what do? We go Google. Mm-hmm. You know what comes up on Google now? Number 1, number 2, number 3, videos. Now we're going on to YouTube. We're watching somebody that's done a video on your company. They're giving me a way to get some bonuses, to get some training, to get more information. I'm clicking on a link. You just got snaked out of a deal. This is why my network marketers, I have them do 2 versions of videos. Number 1, they talk about all the stuff that their product does without mentioning company names. And then I have them go do a bunch of stuff doing their company names, because I want them to be up on YouTube in Google when all the people that you're sending to Google and YouTube that they aren't getting served, now those guys can get served up content and yumminess over on YouTube.
Bro, this is a masterclass. This right here is a master class on marketing. And let's be clear for those of you that are on TikTok, because I have a TikTok channel and I like TikTok. Let's be clear. We're not knocking TikTok. What we're saying is you need to have multiple places for your content, for number 1. And then secondly, you have to be smart. And I love the way you keep saying people get so addicted to the dopamine hit. And it's like, listen, you got to ask yourself, how much money did that dopamine hit pay you? Like, how much money did that dopamine hit pay you? If you've got 1 million views on a viral video because it was funny, where did it drive them to? It drove them nowhere. You just now are picking up more views and more followers, and maybe somebody will buy something after the fact. But TikTok's audience, I've figured out as well, is the buyer audience is a little different. That's why your buyer's audience is Facebook. When people want people to buy stuff, they run Facebook ads. Now, can you get people to buy stuff out of TikTok? Yeah, but a lot of that's going to happen inside of TikTok Shop, or you're going to be someone that's going to be delivering a lot of value consistently, that now you can run some ads and people now trust you because you built up a presence and you can start to drive some of that traffic. But if you're smart, you're keeping that traffic on the inside of TikTok too, because in their ad manager, Their ad manager is built out in a way, for those of y'all that haven't figured it out yet, their ad manager is built out in a way that the leads stay in TikTok. It's not built out in the way that you put your capture page link. No. You build out that ad, you build out that funnel, all that inside of TikTok. When they opt in, it's a CSV back there in the back office of your ad manager. Now, can you add a plug-in and plug them in to go high level and automatically pull them? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. However, if you do that initially and drop them to a page, it's going to dumb down your conversions. Because TikTok wants them to stay on the inside of TikTok, just like Facebook doesn't like it when you stick a YouTube video on the wall. They dumb it down, stick it in the comment section.
This is what you said is just so critically important from a lesson that I think so many people miss. And it's this. And just for some context, I buy a lot of businesses. I'm in the M&A game. I invest in a lot of businesses. I'm buying and selling businesses all day long. And most of my business comes off of Facebook. I work with a bunch of people in a mastermind. I'm a coach for another high-end mastermind, and they all want to play on LinkedIn. And it is hilarious to me because they are all like trying to run these all kinds of high-tech crap over there to generate leads of people that want to sell their business. I don't know about you, Ced. I've always found this to be true. Probably not you because you're a master at this, but I've always found that it's much easier to pick up my phone and answer it than it is to pick it up and dial it. I don't know why, but it's easier to answer the phone than it is to dial it. So the reason I play on Facebook in the M&A game is because it is a function of understanding who the customer is, where are they hanging out, and where are they having the conversations that are going to open them up to solving their solution. Right? Nobody. So TikTok, people are buying stuff on TikTok. Of course, TikTok shop's like blowing up. Awesome. Again, I still think those videos should be on YouTube first, TikTok second, YouTube first, Facebook third, YouTube first, Instagram third, however your model goes. But understanding where the customer is and where the customer is having the conversation that opens up your ability to solve their current problem is the key to all of marketing. So if I'm on Facebook, I look at Facebook, and I think I actually learned this from you, Ced. Facebook's like a barbecue. You got a little bit of business and your drunk uncle. And in the middle of that, you can have those conversations. And so for me, I've always found that if I'm trying to sell something or I'm trying to market something, especially something that takes a little bit higher trust point or that might need a conversation or that somebody's going to buy or make a buying decision based on knowing me or knowing you, Ced, or having a little bit of trust, I want a platform that allows me to have that conversation. Something like Facebook is easy.
Right.
My nephews, I have two younger nephews, 21 and 25.
They hate
those
Facebook.
guys.
They
don't even know. Yeah, they don't even know what Facebook is.
Right.
But I'll tell you what, they also don't have cable. They watch YouTube.
Exactly.
YouTube and TikTok. Now, we can have an entire conversation whether that's a smart play or a dumb play. At the end of the day, when you got the younger generation spending that kind of time on YouTube, and that's becoming their TV stations, and that's becoming their source of entertainment, that's becoming their source of news, that's becoming their source of problem solving, and they're the biggest player in town, owned by the largest website on the face of the planet. I mean, I'd like to see any government try to shut Google down.
It's not going to happen, Casey. It's so funny you say I'm like in the middle of redoing my whole YouTube channel because we're gonna get into this networking conversation, but I've got smoked on YouTube twice. So I've got my channels taken down twice because back in the day, for those of y'all that didn't know, YouTube hated network marketing. Mm-hmm. Now they're open to it now, but they hated network marketing. And I was one of those beginners that kind of trained a lot of people and set off some stuff. And man, we don't like this guy. Whoop, shut down my channel. Then I have people that take my videos and put them on their channel. I create another channel. Whoop, shut down that channel in less than a year. And I'm like, man, after all this content, you guys are killing me. So I kind of just fell off of YouTube and started zoning in on Facebook Lives and Facebook short form video, and then Periscope popped up for a little while for a hot split second.
Vine. Remember Remember
Vine.
Vine was there for a second?
I started doing some TikTok stuff, and I don't do too much on TikTok. But I find a lot of great content on TikTok. I'm just not. I'm not one of these guys that's used to walking around with the camera all the time and filming every single thing in my world. Like, some things should be private, but that's a whole nother conversation in itself. But
Different,
right. Yeah, the government isn't going to ever shut down YouTube. And you're right, man. We grew up on cable. Like, we grew up on cable. Like, it's not I don't have cable now, you know what I mean? Because everybody's got apps, you know, app for this, app for that, app for this, app for that, you know. But at the end of the day, the 20, 21, 25 years old, all that younger generations, like what they call them, Gen Z, whatever it is. I don't know. I feel I'm getting old now. These gray hairs are starting to kick in. It's starting to get interesting now. You know, that generation is going to be your YouTube generation and your TikTok generation. They don't understand what cable is. They don't understand what a house phone is. They don't understand what it was to have a black pager with a lime green clip on it. You know, they don't understand of selling candy at school. Why would you do such a thing? We're just going to walk around and do videos at school, upload it on TikTok or upload it on YouTube, make some money along the way. You know what I mean? So it's different, but it leads me into this next phase of the conversation here. You know, because we haven't even started on this yet, which is crazy because, man, there's so much to unpack with you. When you started off in networking, because you're one of these people that's been a little rogue like me. Like, we cannot be handcuffed. When you started off, I don't even want to go down the same avenue that I've gone down with everybody else. Like, everybody else is like, okay, tell us how you actually got started. I want to know more so because you've been in the networking world for decades now. Mm-hmm. I want to know, when did the light bulb start to go off in your head? Because I know some challenges that you went through. When did the light bulb start to go off in your head that you were like, you know what, man? I've made this company so much money. I've made this company so much money. You're treating me like what? I can't do what? Like, when did that light bulb, what year was it? And if you want to tell us what happened without, you know, getting into the company name, feel free. You know, but when did the light bulb go off and you were like, you know what? I'm going to start spending more time on my brand because you're not treating me how I want to be treated. And I've brought so much value to your company because you and I have had some very, very deep conversations about this. I think people need to know this stuff.
Yeah, it's like my arm hairs actually just curled up. Listen, so I'm going to be the first one to be transparent. I think the network marketing, direct sales industry profession is an absolute incredible. I've had some of the most incredible experiences in the profession. I've met some of my very best friends, including you said, in that profession. I've had the likes of meeting people that are unbelievably advanced in their personal development, like a Todd Falcone, Lisa Grossman, Curtis. You know, we could name all the names. At its core, when I got into network marketing, I fell into it by accident. I didn't know anything about it. I had never really heard or understood it. And I got pretty high up in the company and I was doing pretty well. And what I recognized was that I was being put in front of rooms and stages and people to share my story, and they were buying stuff. And the company was benefiting from that. Now, I was benefiting from it as well, but globally, the company was benefiting. And the more recognition and the more times I tried to tell the story, the more money we would make as a company. And it got to a point where I started looking around going, okay, there's a diminishing set of returns here. I'm flying all over. I'm doing all of this, and I'm getting some pushback from the company owner. I'm getting pushback from the company. And I will be honest with you, Ced, and I think you and I had many calls about this where I'm like, Ced, I don't get it. All I'm doing is making these guys a ton of money. Like, I don't get it. Why are they clipping my wings, or why are they putting in new rules? And what I recognize and realize now, like on the other side of it, was that a lot of company owners, while I believe there are some great people, I believe there are also some company owners that are really greedy and forget how their companies are built. And they forget that everybody from me onward down the chain is a indirect or a direct result of my actions. So it's not fair to say, well, Casey, you built an organization of 10,000 people, but 9,997 of them are ours, and we're going to take responsibility for those relationships. Those people, I started the chain. I started the chain. And I think company owners forget that. And so for me, where I remember very clearly the day that this happened. I'm happy to share the story. I can do this without sharing a company name, and it's fine.
What year? What year was it? What year?
This was probably in about 2012, 2010, 2012, somewhere in there.
I know this conversation. I remember
I will tell you, as a result, I'll give you the end version of this before I tell you the story. The end version of the story was I ended up walking out. I took some time off from that company. A friend of mine was brought into that company to kind of revitalize it. She brought me back into the fold. I went on to win Global Distributor of the Year for that company in 2015. And at that point in time, it was very clear that my being at the company was in direct opposition or direct conflict, not by my standards, but by the CEO competing with an ego of somebody else. And business is business. I'm just not an ego-driven guy. It's just, if you want to fight me on ego, like, you're going to win every time. I just don't care that much. But here was the deal. We had come out with a compensation plan that served our customers, our retail customers, amazingly well. The product, I will always say that the product and the experience of my first company was amazing. I had an amazing time there. But we one day, I was having a conversation with the president of the company in his office, and he had a giant whiteboard. And I had made the argument that I had cracked the code on our comp plan, and that I had figured out how to really build this thing where we would have a lifelong, international, global organization. And I still to this day stand behind everything I did. And said, I think I actually shared it with you because I wanted to make sure that you have a unique ability to go, yeah, but what about this? And what about this? And what about this? And so we had solved it. And so I'm sitting in the president's office, and I'm drawing out how I was building. And I was driving deep, and I was doing tap routing, and I was really building out the customer base on a level that not many people in the organization were. And the conversation started with, how are you building such a deep organization and a customer-based organization? So I'm going through the numbers, and the CEO came in and sat down and just kind of listened. And by the end of the conversation, I was being lectured like I was 5 years old, in that I didn't understand the vision. I didn't understand. I was doing it wrong. And I literally walked out of there just going, I feel like a 5-year-old kid that's been beat with a newspaper, yet I'm one of the top producers in the company. And it was at that moment where I was like, whoa, hang on a second. I have given everything to this company. You know me well enough to know I almost had the company name tattooed on my arm, literally, and I don't have a single tattoo. I breathed every inhale and exhale of my life for this company. I not only drank the Kool-Aid, I was selling Kool-Aid to anybody that would have it because I thought the Kool-Aid was so awesome.
And I bought that Kool-Aid from you. I know.
You did. And so to have somebody in the organization feel that I was in conflict with them when I really wasn't was really disheartening. Now, I am internally grateful for him, and I will be forever in my life, because he opened up so many doors for me and unlocked so much within me. But that started me down a journey of recognizing and understanding. Is like, wow, all I want to do is go talk about your company and your vision and build upon what you started. I don't get it. Like, it was really hard for me. And so now, even when I work with company owners now, I'm like, you guys have got to get out of the way. You have to let the field have, sometimes we've joked that network marketing is personal development with a check attached. But the minute a company owner steps in and starts to stymie and try to control the personal development of the field, you lose. Because you don't lose one time. You lose a Cedrick Harris, you're effed. You lose a Lisa Grossman, you're effed. You lose a Todd Falcone, you're effed. And where it comes down to, said over and over and over and over and over and over, is an ego.
Yes, I agree.
It's just ego. And so I think if I would have gone into that experience differently, recognizing that I have, and I went in there honestly, said I probably came in a little broken. I needed somebody to kind of make me feel good, and I did. At the end of the day, when the day I recognized that I was bringing as much to the table as the person who was bringing the infrastructure to the table, that if we were a good match, we would make a match made in heaven. But if one side, if I thought I brought more to the table than the infrastructure, or the infrastructure's person thought they brought more to the table than I was bringing to the table, wasn't a true partnership. And so now when I look at organizations, if I'm gonna even present them, I mean, said you and I last project, I remember very specifically saying to you, I do not want to be a face. I do not want to have accolades. I don't even want the company owner to know who I am. I don't
even want to talk to him.
I don't want to talk to him. I don't want to know, because for me, it was much more about the work. It was much more about helping, Sally Sue and Johnny Sixpack and those guys put a little extra bread on the table so that they can send their kids to cello lessons, or that they want to get a car, or that they wanted to really go, crazy and build a long-term, wealth machine. But I'm never, ever, ever going to lose myself in another company's brand, because much like TikTok, Friendster, they may not be there. And here's the thing, said again, I'm going to say this because I think this is so important, and company owners hate it when I say this on the other side. When I'm on their side, I still say it differently, but we're just there renting their infrastructure. They can change comp plans. They can change products. They can change terms of service. They can change leaderships. They can change back offices. They can change everything like that. And we don't have a say. But
man, that company that you're talking about, funny thing is, and I don't mean to cut you off, hold that thought. I got to say this though. It's tagging off of what you're saying. It looks totally different today.
100%.
Like night and day from then. Night and day. Unrecognizable, to be honest, and in my opinion, because I think, like you said, sometimes people lose their way and the ego gets involved. And when that ego gets involved, and then some owners sometimes, I call them in my book, I call them cash cow owners. And I give a list of different things to look for to figure out if you're in a company that has a cash cow owner. And there's going to be some owners that ain't going to like what I'm saying in this book, because it's free. It's like this book isn't written to go in the back office of network marketing companies. That's not why I wrote this.
Listen, I have a buddy of mine. You and I both know him. I'm not going to say who it is. He was a president of a company, and he was working with a cash cow owner. I know, and so I saw him rising on stages, and people are asking him to come speak, and he's doing opportunity meetings for the company on the corporate side, all around internationally. And one day he calls me, he's like, Case, we just had our biggest meeting ever. I'm like, tell me about it. And so I go to his Facebook page, and I looked at his Facebook page, and I saw pictures from this opportunity meeting. And I literally called him. Oh, I almost just blurted his name out. I literally called him and I said, dude, you got to get those pictures off of Facebook immediately. And he was like, why? What are you talking about? And I'm like, I am telling you that if your owner, who you work with and you are there to build the brand, sees these pictures, your days are numbered. He was like, no. I'm like, dude, I'm telling you. 60 days later, he was let go. That opportunity meeting had more people in the room than the owners meeting the week after that in a different part of the country.
Ego.
It was all ego. The company CEO didn't recognize that what he was doing was still paying the bills and helping tons of people around. And so I remember sitting with Lisa Gross. Actually, you know what? This is a funny story. We were at A&MP together, you and I were, and I was having a struggle with a company owner that I was working with at the time. And I remember you saying, you know what, Ro? Go talk to Lisa Grossman. Go have a conversation with Lisa. And so I went down and I had a conversation with Lisa Grossman. I'll never forget it. At your, I'll say request, but demand and ordering is more like it. And Lisa Grossman told me that the number one thing that she looks for is a company owner. And I never forgot that. And so I think it's just company owners are the ones that hold the control of the infrastructure. You and I control the ownership of our brand.
Yes. And for those of y'all that are wondering, because I always like to throw in these little caveats, Casey and myself love this industry. I need to remind you of something, though. The name of the book is called Untold Upline Secrets. Untold. Things that maybe your upline might not tell you. Things that you might not learn from your owner until after the fact. And him and I have a unique experience of working with a lot of owners, whether we have worked with them, helping them build their company as reps or from a consulting perspective or whatever. And that's why I know this interview is going to go in different places, because neither one of we're not big tongue biters. And when the both of us get together, it could be a problem, because there's no telling the truth that's going to come out. But I got to tag on to that cash cow owner thing. I got to tag on to that, because some people are going to say, well, what does that really mean? Well, read the book. It's in the book. Okay. But I give you a little bit of a smidgen. I tell people, I said, okay, there's a couple things that you want to look for, but here's a couple of clues. If you've just recently gone through a comp plan change and you look at your check and your check did not go up, but it went down, and it looks like the company is doing the same amount of business or more, that, my friends, is called a clue. Okay. Secondly, if you look at what you started off selling, and this was the basis of the company, and now the company has completely lost its identity. It ain't even about that thing no more. That is called a clue. Like, I remember we were in Lightyear Alliance in 2007. I just mentioned the name, but they're not in business anymore. We were selling voice over internet. We were just when Vonage was out. People were paying $50 for a box. It was cutting their phone bill in half. And one day they came to us, Casey, they said, hey, we want to start selling juice. This was back when Mona V and Zango was killing it. And I'm like, juice? What are you talking about? I'm a senior vice president of the company. And they put us all on a phone call, and there was only like 30 of us. And they were like, okay, we all got to vote on the name of the juice. And I'm like, this doesn't sound right to me. Something isn't clicking off here. We sell telecommunications. I'm cutting your phone bill in half. So let me get this right. Hey, Casey, listen, I got this box right here. It's going to cut your phone bill in half and save you 50% on your phone bill. But I got this juice that was grown in the Himalayan mountains and only 3 people can get to with a special helicopter that I need to sell you as well. That's going to take the savings from your phone bill that I just cut in half. It is going to take it from this. This doesn't sound right to me. I remember I was the only senior vice president that didn't vote. And the president called me 2 days later. He called me. He was like, "Say, we're missing your vote." I said, "What vote? What are you talking about?" He's like, "We're missing your vote." I said, "I can't vote." And he was like, "What do you mean?" For those of y'all, I'm a 3-time felon. I just got my voting rights back 2.5 years ago, but I used that as an excuse, right? I said, "I can't vote, man. I can't vote. It's illegal. It's illegal for me to vote." "What are you talking about?" I said, "Arrest back in the day, 1993. I'm a 3-time felon." He was like, "Bro, stop the madness." I was just messing with him. I said, "But bro, I'm not voting." And he was like, "What do you mean you're not voting?" I said, "I'm not voting." I said, "I sell telecommunications. I don't sell juice." I said, "If we wanted to sell juice, we'll go join Zango. We'll go join Mona V. But say this is what's hot right now, blah, blah, blah." I said, "Well, I'm not voting." He was like, "What are you going to do?" I said, "You'll find out in 48 hours. 48 hours later, I did a conference call. I told everybody I was resigning. Told my old, well, say, "Where are we going?" "I don't even know." I have no idea. I just made the decision. We'll figure it out. Don't worry. God always provides. We'll work it out. But if you're going to rock with me, I want all y'all to call in and cancel your service. Oh, man, it was crazy. They had like 1,700 people call and start shutting down their back office. Oh, they was pissed off at me. They tried to get me to come back. I'm like, nah, we're not doing this. And, we end up over at another company. But the whole challenge was that you're a cash cow. You're trying to capitalize because Mona V and Zango was doing a couple of $100 million a year, which, we ended up, it wasn't immediately afterwards. We started selling some juice a while later because that's what was hot at the time, but we didn't stay in there long at all because the core of who we were, we really weren't juice people. So we kind of built a marketing system around it and put a different spin on it versus what people were doing back in the day. But that was all cash cow ownership, because it was, let's take advantage of what's hot right now and turn a telecommunications company into a juice company. Made no sense.
Instead, there's nothing to be said. There's nothing wrong with a company evolving its product offering. Like I get that,
yes.
but it's the difference of, in this case, I would have called all the senior VPs into a room and said, "Hey guys, we've got this other opportunity. What do you think about this?
What do you think?" Yes.
Yeah, and bring those people into the fold and trust the people that build. When I said before, I think a lot of company owners forget how their company was built. I consulted for this firm. I will never forget. I'm going to change one of the products on it because it'll be too obvious. But I was consulting for this company that sold juice. I'm going to call it juice. And the company's kind of deal was anti-aging. So our field were little old ladies from Pasadena. It was an older crowd, mainly women, probably 55 and older, maybe 60 and older. It was a fairly mature field base. The most amazing group of women and these women, like, you talk about community and locking arms with each other, like it was like unbreakable. I will never forget sitting at this meeting. The guy comes in, he goes, "I got it. This is how we're going to go to the stratosphere." I'm like, "Dude, where's my notepad? Let's go. I'm ready to write," because I was writing comp plans at the time, right? And I said, "Okay, what do we got?" Like I'm ready, and I'm like just ready. I'm like, this is going to be absolutely awesome. And he goes, "We are going into the crypto training space." Wait, what do you mean crypto training space? "We're going to sell a crypto trading platform." I said, "Like, to who? Like, what? Wait a minute. What are you talking about?" And it was literally at the end of that meeting, I was like, "Oh, I got to go," because this is a play on, at the time, everybody was taking on crypto. I'm like, "You don't know who our field is.
Right.
You don't know who our customers are."
These are little old ladies in Pasadena. What they're going to talk,
Yeah.
what they're going to say with crypto. Like, really?
Yeah. It was like,
crypto.
what are you, it's like, so, and listen, I love the profession. Like, I am the biggest advocate. I spoke on ANMP, not even from a company perspective, but general, for a long time. I've trained and spoke all over the world on network marketing. I love it. The thing is that both parties have to come to the table understanding the value of what they bring to the table.
Yes.
One side brings infrastructure, one side brings influence. That's it. And the sooner we all come to the table and understand that, hey, I don't want to deal with inventory. I don't want to deal with shipping. I don't want to deal with insurance. I don't want to deal with hiring customer service. I don't want to deal. Plug into a network marketing organization and run with it. I've made a ton of money, made a lot of friends, had a lot of amazing experiences, great trips. Understand, though, that if you don't own the company, you are renting their platform. Company owners, you run the platform, you're renting space, but you are creating a volunteer army. And if you make it involuntary, bye-bye. And where we are in today in 2024, said, versus where we were in 2008, 2009, there are too many options for us networkers to choose from to stay too long with a cash cow owner or an ego owner or a company that changes comp plans all this time. And then they sit around and they go, "Oh, this is going to be," I've never pushed a comp plan change and said to the field, "Hey, you know what? We're doing the comp plan change. And by the way, your checks are going to go down, but you should be super excited about it."
Okay.
I don't know. It turns out. So the profession is awesome. But here, I think the difference, said, back when we were kids in 2008, 2009, 2010, is there are way more distractions. There are way more things that the field and the owners are competing with. And as leaders, I think it is even more important today than it was back then to really build the relationship with the person one-to-one as fast as possible, so that you can build a network of friends. That network is unstoppable. Said, what you've been able to do over your career is, and I mean this in all honesty, is legendary, because what you've been able to do probably better than anybody I know, is make a guy like me feel the same level of special to you as somebody from the complete opposite side of the tracks for me, the complete opposite life experiences for me, the complete opposite of me. And what you have been able to do is not only teach and train it, but live it from your heart, your brain, and every other element, is that you can make everyone feel special. And if more networkers, if we understood that that is the key to success, more than what the juicy juices do, and more than what a comp plan does, and more than what a trip does, that's the magic. And so when we talk about networking, whether it's in a business context or a network marketing context or any other context, it is the ability for us to be chameleons and make everyone feel included, make everyone feel special, bring everyone to the party, rather than bringing people to the party by excluding others. And I wish politicians brought you in as a consultant, because the reality is most politicians figure out that there's only a certain size tent. And what they try to do is they try to keep people in the tent, but put a big tent wall around and push the rest of the people out. And if a politician could figure out how to build a network marketing business, said like you have trained and taught for so long, understanding how people buy, understanding, listening to what their problems are, helping them get across the finish line, and include people and bring them closer to you, you bring them closer to you, they're going to bring their friends. Mm-hmm. That's the power.
People have forgotten that, bro. We live in a society where nobody builds relationships anymore, and they don't understand the power of those relationships. That's, if there's one thing that this industry has done for us, other than help us tremendously financially, but the relationships that you and I have created over these years, man, it's been, for me, it's like 20, 25 years now. I've got people that I can call from 25 years ago, from 15 years ago, from 20 years ago, that there's still mutual respect there. There's still mutual. I was on the phone with one of them earlier today for about an hour and a half, and man, like I remember her buying a CD set for me way back in the day, man. And she had just started a network market, just kind of dabbling around, and now she's making about $8 million a year. And she's not even building anymore, but just between real estate and owning a tax firm, she's making about $8 million a year. And she's got all these other things going, owns 40 other properties free and clear, and collecting all this rental money and blah, blah, blah. But it's these type of relationships that people remember how you made them feel. They remember how you treated them. And I think that a lot of the ownership has forgotten that, because they think it's their idea. They think it's them. And I'm like, it's not you. Like I was in a room with one a while back, man, and brought me on, and I'm gonna be careful about how I say this one, because they paid me a chunk of money, and I don't want people to know who I'm talking about. But man, I remember being in the room, and everybody in the room that was a part of this company was kissing this owner's butt. I'm talking, you would have thought that this owner had Honey Nut Cheerios coming out of his butt, the way that everybody was up it. Everybody was up the butt, with the exception of me. And we were all on this Zoom, and I told them all, I said, let me tell y'all something between the difference between me and you guys. This is why, with the CEO on there, I said, here's the difference between me and you guys. All of y'all are employed. All of y'all are employed, okay? Me, I'm 1099 on this. I don't have to be here. So I am not going to tell this man in his face what he wants to hear. I am not going to do that. When I talk to these reps on a daily basis, I know what they're saying. I know what they want, but they won't say it because they're afraid to get their check cut. So I've got to be the one to stand up. Oh man, like that situation lasted like 90 days. Like he couldn't take it because it was me being truthful. Like, bro, this is not you. Like, I know these people are scratching your back, and I know you feel good, and you grew up a certain way, and you already grew up with money, and blah, 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 blah. But I'm looking at you in your eyes, and I know that you got your lunch money taken in high school when you were growing up. I know every time you walk down the freaking hallways, people were giving you wedgies. I see it in your face. I see it in your eyes. But you built this company, and you think that it's all you now. No, because if 6 of your leaders leave, you don't even have a company. 6 of your leaders control almost 70% of all the business in your whole company, 6 of them. And I can tell you 5 of them are pissed off right now. So like you need to check that. And most people will never get that. That's why I think that the average networker, once they get to a certain particular level, everybody won't agree with this, but you started off the interview with this. When you get to a certain level of income and you realize that I need multiple streams. So if something happens, you're not selling your soul.
And it will.
Yeah,
and
it always does.
It will.
it nothing lasts forever. Nothing lasts forever. Something will happen. Comp plan change, product enhancement, ownership change, ownership buyout, big leader leave, this happened. Something's going to happen. That doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. That's just life. What it means is that you have to learn to be diversified enough that if something happens, you don't miss it. I'm interviewing my good friend Melvin Crawley the other day, and his dad taught him something, and Melvin's a monster. Like Melvin's a monster marketer. And he said he was at dinner one day, and his dad said, "Hey son, so you got your job, and they own all these restaurants in Richmond as well. You got your job, at the bank as an underwriter, and you're working, at the restaurants too. Okay, so what else you doing?" Like, what do you mean, Dad? I make good money at the job as an underwriter at Bank of America, and I'm making another $30,000 plus a year, working at the restaurants too. He was like, "Yeah, but what else you doing?" He was like, "What do you mean, Dad?" He was like, how much money are you making right now?" So he told him, he said, "You know what the problem with that is?" He was like, "If you can count your money, you're not making enough of it." And I remember Melvin told me that. I was like, "Ooh, that's good." He said, "If you can count your money, you're not making enough of it." And people have to look at it and say, I have to treat it like insurance. When do you put car insurance on your car? Before you get the car or after you have the accident? Before you get the car, not after you have the accident. So do you have business insurance? Do you have financial insurance that if I lost this job income, what do I have? If I lost this TikTok income, because there's going to be some people that's going to freak out if they lose their TikTok income, what do I have? If I lost this 10, 15, 20 grand a month from this network marketing company, what do I have? Or do you have other things going on that it's like, oh man, that hurt, but it didn't take me out. That 5, 6, 7 grand a month extra would be nice, but it didn't take me out. Because every owner that I know, what's so funny about this? Every owner that I know, and you know it too, they want us to be 100% focused, but every owner that we know has at least 7 to 8 different income streams.
Yep.
but
and
you know what's 2 or 3, you're wrong.
And you know what's really interesting you said is, and guys, make no mistake, there are some amazing company owners out there. Yes. The young crop of owners that's coming up, absolutely awesome. And so the reason I think a lot of this is coming out is, first off, a lot of us have just got this pent up that we haven't had a release like this in a long time. So thank you, Seth, for giving us this. But this is called Untold Stories. Your upline doesn't tell you. And these are the conversations that are occurring right now, whether it's in M&A, crypto. I mean, I'm involved in a crypto NFT project that is having these same conversations, and it all comes down to people. And so here's the challenge. The challenge is the ability for you to cut through the distractions, to have somebody concentrate on your opportunity or your thing you're helping them build. Instead of trying to get angry with somebody that you're working with, having 2, 3, 4, 5 other things. Like when I'm in the field and somebody says to me, "Hey, I'm looking at 5 other things," I'm like, "Show them to me. Tell me."
Right.
And when you have true relationships, Ced and I have the relationship where if Ced calls me and says, and it usually goes like this, "Bro, where are you right now?" "I'm at my desk."
You don't even ask a lot of questions, man. It's like,
I'm like, this is literally what I do when Ced calls. "Okay, dude, do they take Visa or American Express?" Like because I trust Cedrick enough to know that if he calls and picks up the phone and calls me, I trust that he's not going to make that call unless he's playing the game. Right. And I think this is the component that makes network marketing and direct sales one of the most amazing, cool things on the planet. First off, the network that you can build and the friends. Seth and I have no business knowing each other. We would have never probably crossed paths had we not been at a network marketing event. We happened to both be speakers there, and it was happenstance to some extent that we even connected. This profession builds that layer of network throughout the world, like the friendships and the trips and all of that, without building your own company is huge. But I think the message that both Seth and I are kind of coming to a head with is, don't lose your own value in somebody else's deal when you are good enough to be your own deal first. And once you recognize that at a cellular level, there's freedom in that, in being able to slice and dice your focus and slice and dice your investment and slice and dice your life however you want, that meets your blueprint. I have people that I work with that are like so singularly focused, it's not even funny. I don't understand it. I know I can work with him. It's not me. I can call Ced, and Ced and I can get on the phone. I'm like, bro, sit down for 2 hours because we're just going to have a gab session. What are you working on? Let me tell you what I'm working on. Let's see where we can meet in the middle. That's how the players are. That's how the players are talking. That's how the backroom relationships, your upline, you are the upline to the first person you bring into the organization. You are the person that's bringing a customer to the table in whatever organization. If it's your own brick and mortar shoe store, who cares? At the end of the day, your network, the value of your relationships should mean more to you on your cellular level than anything else. And if you go into the marketplace with that blueprint or that idea, you're going to come out long-term like a silver coin, long-term like a YouTube video. Facebook's going to come and go. TikTok's going to come and go. Snapchat's going to come and go. Silver and relationships ain't going anywhere. They're just going to get more valuable over time.
And the name of the game should be, how do I get involved in things? How do I become more valuable? How can I give more value to my people? So, man, we went through a lot here. Good gracious. All right, we're gonna have to wrap this up here really shortly, Casey. However, there's one or two things I wanted to review before we wrap this up, because most people don't. A lot of people, you're extremely humble, and there's going to be some people that don't know you from this perspective, but I know this of you. You're one of the few people that I know that is constantly in rooms with people that have net worths of 50 million, 100 million, 200 million, 400 million, 700 million dollars. Like, you are always in these rooms, always. Now, so this is a two-part question, because people want to know this type stuff. Number one, what are you doing? How do you always find yourself in these rooms with these people that have these phenomenal net worths? Because obviously it helps stretches you, opens up your mind, opens up your Rolodex, puts you in the right place to make more connections. And then secondly, you have been the MC every single year for the past couple of years of one of the biggest digital marketing events on the planet, with Ryan Dice. For those of y'all that don't,
10 years. I just had my 10 years with them.
10 years. You've been an MC. What is it? Why I'm catching a brain fart right now. What's traffic and conversions? Okay.
Yep.
So traffic and conversions, one of the biggest marketing events ever. Like, if you're a marketer, you already know who Ryan Dice is, period, end of story. If you're a marketer, you know who Ryan Dice is, and you know who Russell Brunson is. If you don't know who Ryan Dice and Russell Brunson is, you're not a marketer. So you are that MC every single year for the past 10 years. So we got to get into, man, how did you pull that off? And how are you constantly getting into these rooms with these high network people that you're calling me up with, saying, I got to introduce you to this person. Say, you ain't gonna believe what I just figured out. This, that, blah, blah, blah. Like, we got to spend a little bit of time sharing that with the people here, because this is about networking.
Yeah. So my granddad taught me a philosophy when I was 5 years old, and it's just something that has stuck with me. And it's sort of my number one philosophy, and it answers kind of both of these questions kind of simultaneously, and that is always give more value than you expect to receive, and everything else will work itself out. So when I go into a room, I am using my earballs constantly. And yes, I said earballs correctly. I am watching for and listening for the opportunity to help someone in the room do something. If somebody says, either it's from stage or in the back of the room, that they need help with registration, I'm doing registration. If somebody says, on stage, they're like, oh crap, I don't have a copy of my book handy, I'm the guy running to the back and figuring out where to get the book and running it up to the stage. I am constantly on the prowl for ways to, I don't want to say break into a circle, because it makes it seem a little bit more architected than it is. But I've trained myself to always be looking for the opportunity to help somebody else out. And I don't come to the table with an ego. And so, I used to, like, when I speak at Chamber of Commerce events, if I'm speaking at a Chamber of Commerce event and I see the girl struggling with registration crap at her car, even though I'm the speaker, I'm supposed to be the one in there like schmoozing and politicking and all that. I'm the guy dragging that crap in and helping her. I'm also very clear that people with influence hang out with other people of influence.
Yes.
And so there is a strategy in terms of, if I am in a room or you are in a room, there are a few people that have more influence than other people in the room, by and large. Number one, the speakers. I'll give you guys like one of the easiest things that you could do is that if you're going to an event, especially if it's a local event, like a chamber or whatever, but even if it's a big event, it doesn't really matter. And you know who the speaker is, they're going to promote the heck out of it. Here's the thing. This is so easy. This is like just an easy trick. Go buy 3 copies of the speaker's book and go buy yourself a black Sharpie. Walk up to the speaker before they go on stage, give them 3 copies of their own book and say, hey, Ced, I love this book. This is absolutely awesome. Could you just take 15 seconds and do me a favor? I'd like you to autograph book number 1 to me. Book number 2, my top client, her name is Johnny, or his name is Johnny. Could you autograph a copy to him? Because I want to send this to him because I think it'd be really awesome. It'll make his day. And number 3, I'd like you to autograph one just for the room. And I'm going to give it to the organizer and let them raffle it off. I just made that speaker before they go on stage feel so special. And you're like, wait, you're giving me, do you know how many times I have not been mentioned from the front of the room when doing that? All of 0.
Right.
So it is always about looking for ways to make the people of influence, the speakers, the organizers. So it's really funny. It's so funny because I got thinking about this. I spoke at an event for a woman named Deanna Rogers back in the day. She had a little group. They brought me in to do a little training on networking. I became friends with her. She's still one of my best friends today. She actually runs Roland Fraser's office, and she's partners with Roland on a bunch of deals. When they needed an MC for traffic and conversion, I had helped Ryan and Roland and Perry out. Those were the 3 owners at the time. With everything that I possibly could. I went to the event. I listened. If they needed something, I was the guy. And I come from the movie business, where you make it in that business by helping other people. You cannot make it to the top of that deal without helping other people. And so they invited me to come speak at one traffic and conversion summit. I showed up. I said, I don't care if I MC a broom closet. Like, put me where you want me to do. I don't care. I don't need the stage time. I'll do whatever I can to help this brand help. We had a problem at that first one. I may get in trouble for saying this, but I don't care. They'll laugh about it now. But the sponsor of the breakout room that I was emceeing in was unhappy with their sponsorship. Okay. And I don't remember what the deal was. They needed to have a banner out front, or I don't remember what the deal was. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to make these guys feel special, because the owners of the company that sponsored the room happened to be in the room watching. And so I just took it upon myself to, from the front of the stage, start promoting their company. And I was like, hey, if you guys have questions, these guys are the owners. This is the best company ever. You guys got to go do this. So I started saying that from stage at every single break. Every single time that somebody would come up, I would basically do a commercial for the company that sponsored. I'm like, listen, you guys, we wouldn't be here if it weren't for these three guys down here in the front row. They're the ones that paid for this room to have access that we could bring you this content and these speakers. Please go thank them. Please go shake their hand. Please visit their booth. Well, Ryan Dice actually happened to walk in the room and was standing in the back of the room when I did this. And he saw the difference when those sponsors were started unhappy. And then afterwards we're like, oh my God, like we want that guy in our room all the time.
Right.
So it's a matter of showing up, adding value, and getting your ego out of the way. We've talked a lot about ego over the last hour and a half. It's incredibly important. And just to take that a step further, Ryan and Roland run another organization to this day. And I was invited onto their faculty because of that. And so now I still have an incredibly close relationship with those guys in a capacity that puts me in a room of people that I don't even like. It would make your toenails curl if you knew the value of what the net worth of those rooms are. But said it really comes down to, if I'm in a room, I'm going to scan the room, and there are givers and takers. And I've always found that the givers are the influencers and the takers are the ones that are hanger-oners. So I just kind of figure out, who are my givers? Who are my folks of influence? What can I do to help them? Everybody else will be along for the ride. And so I think that's kind of the number one thing, is like, how do I help someone, right? How is it that Ced has had me on here for an hour and a half so far? It's because my time is pretty cut short. I don't have tons of time, but Ced's a smart dude. Is it possible that Ced has figured out that I'm going to help him promote the project? Of course.
Yeah.
Right. And so, because the thing, I love the name of the book, the upline secrets. I just think it's great, because I think people have this mystical view of what an upline is. And all it really means, you guys, is that there is a group of people that have built a network, and they have relationships, and they help each other out. And every one of us could do that. But people are so focused on selling something versus building a relationship. That relationship will outpace comp plan changes. It will outpace government changes. It will outpace presidential candidates. It'll outpace all of that stuff. So spend the time focused on getting to know the people that get stuff done. And by the way, I one time I hear people say sometimes, like, well, Case, I own a whatever company. Sorry, I got something in my eye. I own a whatever company. I don't like, there's no purpose for me to network. I said, okay, cool. I said, well, what if you networked with your vendors? Is it possible that you might get cheaper credit card processing or cheaper insurance, or have an in when one of your competitors gets ready to go out of business? You might have first crack at acquiring them, or you might have access to an employee in another organization that's ready to rock and roll and leave because of whatever. Maybe you have the attraction there. So the value of your network, I think it's called, you guys can Google it. I believe it's called Metcalfe's Law, if I'm not mistaken. And it's a mathematical equation of how to value the value of a network. And it is an exponential number. So if you think about like how Facebook or any of these social networks are valued, they're not valued at ad dollars. They're valued at the value of the network, the number of people and connections of each of those people inside the network. The more people that are connected to each other inside the network makes the network in and of itself exponentially more value, which is why things like Meta have a crazy valuation compared to the rest of the world. Your internal network, or your network that you can pick up the phone and call on the phone, or that will answer your phone call, becomes increasingly and exponentially more value the more people that are in it.
Man, that was a lesson for you. Wow. Casey, listen. Man, you and me could go for hours and hours, man. I'm telling you, first of all, thank you for granting me this time to have you here, man. Like, the insight that you've given here has been totally invaluable. I hope everybody was taking some crazy notes and go back and rewind this. pay attention to what Casey is saying. Make sure that you're paying attention to him on social media. He does a lot of deal acquiring companies. He's one of the best networkers that I know. And even though he's extremely humble, he is one crazy mover and shaker. And man, I know that an hour and a half of your time is hard to come by. So I'm glad that I was able to get this interview out. I got to take a quick snapshot though. You know, most people are like, oh, they say the case together. There's some trouble.
They only can imagine.
Hold on, I got a snapshot. There's got to be some trouble there. Hold on, I got to put this there. Yeah, there's got to be some trouble. But listen, man, thank you so much. I got to end it with this. You know, I asked everybody the same question when we end these interviews. And I want you to think about it. If you can go back 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, whenever it was, whether it was an upline, whether it was a business partner, whether it was your parents, whether it was a neighbor, someone shared something with you that could have helped change your life, could have helped make you more money, could have change maybe the trajectory of your life at that time, and you didn't listen. And you look back at it now, 10 years later, 15 years later, 20 years later, you're like, man, somebody told me to start building my email list then. Man, it's like I was telling the story. I said somebody told me in 2014 to buy Bitcoin. I was making $1 gazillion a week in a skincare company. I was like, you guys are going to jail over that digital money. Like, you're crazy. Like, I mean, and the amount of money that I was making at the time, I mean, I could have bought a lot of Bitcoin and just not even looked anymore. I'm like, what did I do? You know, so if you could go back 10, 20, 30 years, whatever it is, and think, man, if I would have just listened when this person told me XYZ, this would have changed. And I'm not talking about from a regretful standpoint, because we never lose. We either win or we learn. Like, so what is that one thing or two things that you maybe can point your finger on?
Well, the one that comes to mind, so it's funny because I was going down a different road until you finished up the question. There was a pivotal moment in time. Well, there were two moments in time where things changed the trajectory, and had I made a different decision in both of these cases, my life would be dramatically different. The first one, I know this is going to shock you, was based on ego. And that was when we had sold our equipment rental company. We had $1 million in the bank. I thought I was the shiz. And I had a lot of people advising me on what type of businesses to look for to buy and what we were going to do. And I let my own ego make the decision based on nothing more than an ego play, rather than tapping into somebody else's experience, know-how, trust, understanding, respect. And we made a decision. I mean, I went from a film equipment company to a sweatshop. I mean, I'm in marketing, so it's a perspiration salon. But we attempted to make 4,000 pair of women's pants a day. And that was a decision that was made because I wanted an air-conditioned office versus the fundamentals of the business. And that was when I recognized and learned and understood why CEOs of big companies have boards of directors. And I vowed at that time that I would never make another decision without the advice and opinions of consultants, coaches, masterminds, people around me that have been there, done that, have better experiences than I do. So at that moment, when I knew I was going to walk away from that business and lose everything, that was the moment where I was like, never again. It was also that same moment when we were losing that business, that I vowed for myself. This is, and again, asked me my experience. So this is it. Take what you like and leave the rest. It was at that moment where I only had that one stream of income and I lost it all. And I vowed in that moment that I would never, ever, 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 ever allow myself to only have one source of income ever again. And both of those for me, number one, it was the recognition that I made a dumb decision based on ego and not having a board of directors around me. And number two, allowing myself to fall prey to the focus on one thing and don't ever look up.
Wow. So that's where that whole multiple stream of income thing kicks in. It's like,
100%.
it's like, you know what? I'm not going to get stuck again. Man, that's awesome. Casey, thanks so much, brother. Thank you for all the knowledge, all the boulders, everything that you dropped here on everybody. You absolutely rock. We got to do this again sometime soon, man. We're gonna have a podcast that's gonna be popping off here pretty soon. So we gotta do the podcast, and it's just strictly business acquisition and MMA, and we gotta get to the deep stuff, the fun
I
stuff,
love it.
technical stuff, you know. So
Said before you finish up telling me I'm awesome and stroking my ego, that's great. But let me just say thank you for bringing this project to people that really need it, understand it, learn it, respect it, and can grow from it. The pillar that you've planted, or the flag that you've planted in the space of personal development at General, as well as in the business community, is something that is so needed. And I am so honored and excited for you and this project. I am humbled to be your friend. It is an amazing relationship we've had. And I cannot think of anybody that is better at doing what they do than you. And so I'm going to say on behalf of everybody else, and by the way, we had a meeting, we just want to say thank you for bringing this project to the table.
thank you, bro. I'm a humble man. Always good to be around great people, man, and learning and doing what we can, and sharing the gifts, man. So thanks so much. I look forward to doing it again, brother, for sure.
Okay. Ciao, guys.
Thanks, brother.